Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Over 37 million Americans have diabetes, and then with 90 to 95% of them having type 2 diabetes. And managing diabetes is an ongoing process for those who have it, and it can be especially challenging for those who are newly diagnosed as diabetic. However, for many, diabetes management can become a lifelong struggle. And this is why we're so glad today to be joined by Courtney Wu, the Naturally Sweet RD. Courtney is a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. So she's going to discuss some easy and healthy ways that you can manage your diabetes. So I saw Courtney. Oh, here you are. Hi, Courtney.
How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad we don't have any glitches because yesterday when we were on Instagram Live and it was like a bunch of glitches and then it was took multiple tries. So I'm so glad nothing happened today.
Oh, good, me too. I know technology is so unpredictable.
So thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about your background and like how you became the naturally sweet RD. I love this.
Oh, thank you. It's something I'm really passionate about too. I actually grew up playing sports and being active, and when it was time to go off to college, I decided to pursue the nutrition side of health and really got into that. And throughout my college experience too, it's actually kind of funny. I was in college orientation, and the program director was talking about what it is to be a nutritionist and their nutrition program and then their dietitian program. And she's talking about how rigorous all the courses were. And basically, it's kind of like pre-med. And then my mom looked over, she's like, "Are you sure you want to do that? You should just be a nutritionist." And I was like, "No, I started this. This is what I'm going to do." And so I really didn't find out what it was going to be like until a little bit later on in the program, but really actually fell in love with it. Um, I finished my dietetics program at Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego, and then did my accredited program or my accredited internship in San Francisco State, and I was more of a clinical focus, and so I got my feet wet in all of the clinical care there. And then after graduating, becoming a dietitian, I wasn't really sure what exactly I wanted to do. I knew eventually along the line or down the line, I wanted to do private practice. It's just the thought of, working for yourself sounds amazing. And so that's actually where Naturally Sweet RD was born before I got into my full-time job, which it was skilled nursing, but I really like the concept of being able to balance sweets and not having to feel like you need to give those things up in your lifestyle. And so it was also a little play on words of, my sweet demeanor. So balancing sweets, but then also being naturally sweet. Um, yeah. So I went out into skilled nursing for about 6 years, and then I decided I actually didn't take that long, but I stayed there way longer than I probably should have. But I really found that my heart was in preventative nutrition care and not the reactive care that we kind of find in our healthcare system nowadays. And so right now I have my own practice of diabetes management and nutrition care for people with diabetes. And so that's what I've been loving doing.
I love you take the preventative approach. So I was also trained as ID. I did my internship at the West LA VA. And yeah, nobody listened to me at the VA.
Yeah, they're very
Because
stuck in their way. Yeah.
yeah, they're very also meat and potato type. So it's very, very hard to change people's behavior. And I think maybe as a private practice, you actually get spent time with your clients, which is a huge in terms of behavior change and everything, and it makes a huge impact in terms of their condition management.
Yeah, and then it also reminded me of that saying, you can't make people want to change. That's something that you do on your own, and so you can only get people so far by telling them, this could be helpful for you. But um, it really starts with you. So.
I know you take food as a medicine approach, which I love, to wellness. Tell us what that meant to you.
Yeah, food is medicine. I think that can scare people sometimes because they're like, "Oh, you don't use medicine at all." And I think like that doesn't mean that you have to be exclusively, I take, a spoonful of, honey or whatever it is. But I like going back to the healing effects of food and also just realizing how food and nutrients do play a role in our bodies, that we need all these nutrients. We need minerals, sodium, potassium, all of that. We need those in order for our bodies to function really well. Um, and so I think that's really where it is the heart of that. I think all too often, especially in like this more Western style of medicine,
Mhm.
we are told, we go to the doctor and we have these complaints and, I don't feel well. And then doctors are, here's your prescription. But they really don't dig into, what is your lifestyle like? How are you sleeping? What are you eating and these sorts of things? What is your exercise like? Um, what is your mental health like? And I wouldn't say that's like all the fault of the doctors. I think it's the healthcare system and how it's built as a whole. And that's probably just another conversation. But I really like going back to yeah, I really like going back to the idea of that you can, take control of your health and food is a major part of it. It's not like I feel sick, so I'm gonna, look outside of food. It's like maybe some things are contributing to food. Like say if you have a food allergy that you may not be aware of, like that could be contributing to inflammation. And so these are things that we can address.
Yeah, this is where also where the dietitian comes in to play. And for those who are not aware, explain to us like, what is a dietitian and also what role can dietitian play in diabetes management or nutrition management?
Sure. Diabetes or dietitians are they are much more than nutritionists. Anybody can go online and get a certificate in nutrition. Diabetes. This is on my mind. Dietitians go through rigorous training. They have all of these science classes that they need to complete, and then medical nutrition therapy and other courses that are required. Then you go on to an accredited internship that you also do that requires training in clinical care, food service, and community nutrition. And then you actually have to pass a board exam or our version of a board exam to become registered as a dietitian. So dietitians are able to help instruct people with um, more disease states rather than nutrition, where it's more of like general nutrition and health coaching. So we're actually able to be a part of an important part, I would say, of the interdisciplinary team and really focus on how we can help in manage disease.
Also, the board exam is not a one-time thing. You have to continue your education credit to in
Right.
order for having the active license.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're good at reminding you that you need more CEUs. We're
Right.
always learning.
Absolutely. So now back to the diabetes, since you already like jumped into diabetes already. So what is the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
That's a great question. A lot of people think, oh, type 1 is the one where you get when you're a kid, and then type 2 is the one where you get later on. Now we're finding that you can actually be diagnosed with type 1 later on in life. So it's really just depends. But at the core of it, for both, it is the body is not able to use and store glucose at how it's properly or how it's supposed to. And in type 1, it's an autoimmune disease state where the beta cells are attacked and they cannot no longer produce insulin. And so that's when you are required to give yourself insulin. And then it's mostly known as insulin dependent diabetes or has been known as insulin dependent diabetes. And then type 2, it's more of the insulin resistant state where your body does produce insulin, and insulin is the key to opening up your cells to be able to store glucose, but your body doesn't respond to the insulin that's produced. And so type 2 can be modified more with food, whereas type 1, it is still important what you eat, but it's not only that aspect that helps manage type 1. You'll definitely need to be administering insulin in that.
So the management is really different. But then why are there so many type 2s? Why is type 2 so common?
Type 2 is so well, I wish I could say that there was one way, but there's this running joke between my mom and I, and she uses the phrase combination of things a lot. And I really think that you can't really point to one thing of why someone gets type 2 diabetes. It's a combination of maybe it's in your family, maybe it's also lifestyle. I know a lot of times like the food system can play a role in that. We have, especially in America, we have a food abundance, but that doesn't mean nutrient abundance. And there's a lot of other lifestyle factors that can also contribute to the prevalence of type 2. Can't point to just one thing. There could be a lot of things, but there are ways that you can manage it. So that is the good news.
You had a great post a while back, about the 3 tips that most practitioners give it to people for managing their diabetes, which exercise, lose weight. And then they also have this generic diabetes plan, but then we know this generic plan is not exactly addressing the individual. So tell us about that.
Yeah. I think most often when I hear clients or people on Instagram even tell me, I was diagnosed and they either don't have that much information on diseases or how that they can manage it, or they're just told to watch the carbs that they eat or just lose weight. I and that's basically just generic a generic plan. It's not individualized. I think as we mentioned before, talking about your sleep, your nutrition habits, your lifestyle habits, all of these components really play a role into diabetes management. And so just to say, lose weight and just watch what you eat, it's just very plain and simple and doesn't really speak to you as an individual. Which, I mean, I would hope that, giving simple robotic advice would not be something of interest to you, because then that would mean like you're just a robot, you're not an individual. So I my hope for when I work with clients is that they receive that personalized care, that they feel listened to, and that they are really able to kind of tap into tuning into themselves instead of saying, okay, this is what I'm looking at as a plan, and this is what the paper tells me to do. And well, that can be like a good starting point if you don't know anything at all. Really, it's going back to being able to tune into yourself and listening to what your body is able to tell you in the clues. Because I think a lot of times these plans too, it's really bringing yourself out of your body and not being able to connect to that. When you are just given a plan, you're basing your care on external cues, and it really separates you from your body and being able to take care of yourself optimally.
That makes a lot of sense, which then could lead to more drugs and then other things that not fully managing it. So how can an individual create a healthier diet plan then?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one, well, working with a specialist and someone who does focus on that, it really takes a lot of learning in the beginning, in the initial sessions of figuring out what are the things that you were told, what are the things that you already know, what are the things that you're already doing, and kind of taking an inventory and just taking maybe a week or two to even just observe how does your body respond, instead of, I'm just doing these things and then kind of looking for the output, but how is my body responding to the things that I'm already doing? And am I noticing, does something work? Does something not work? And then once you find that out, you're noticing, okay, these are the things that are not producing the result that I thought they would, or that I was told that they would. And so this is where you can get into the personalization of like, we need to change this aspect of your diet. Maybe we need to add more carbs, or maybe we need to change the way that you are putting your meals and snacks together, or your meal timing and that sort of thing. So there's many different approaches to personalization, but that's something that working with a specialist can definitely help with.
Absolutely. So you champion for people to eat to get adequate macros in their diets, and because I've heard many times people will be on this fat diet and then they will eliminate certain nutrient groups. So what are the macros? Why is it why is the right balance for someone with insulin resistance really important?
Great questions. So the macronutrients, and I think that's also something we can talk a little bit about, because people are like, oh, okay, if probably people have heard if it fits your macros, and really just getting into that too. But that's something completely different. When we talk about macros, we're talking about the main nutrients of protein, fat, carbohydrates. And then carbohydrates also includes fiber, and fiber is one of those components that the body cannot digest, but it's definitely helpful in glucose metabolism and being able to steady your blood sugar instead of contributing to those spikes. So they talk about a balance because most often people have heard that carbohydrates are the ones that actually raise your blood sugar, and that's your body's main source of energy. And those are the ones that provide that energy, and hence that when you get that blood sugar spike, that's what can contribute to the blood sugar spike. People may have heard or may have not heard, they say that phrase of don't eat carbs naked, or don't just have carbs at meals or at snacks, because that can contribute to the blood sugar spike that you're trying to avoid. But that's where adding protein and fat and then fiber all come into play too, because those actually help slow the digestion and release of carbohydrates, and so that you have a more steady curve of blood sugar versus that spike that you're trying to avoid. Glucose naturally raises your blood sugar, and that's a natural response, but it's the levels in your body that we're trying to focus on getting into target range.
That makes a lot of sense, because carbohydrates actually, your body actually needs it. So it's important to have some spikes, just not too much.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
so you also say like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Why is that?
Partially because breakfast is my personal favorite, because I like breakfast food, but actually people tend to be more insulin resistant in the morning, and so that can help set your blood sugar response for the rest of the day. So ensuring that you have a balance of protein and fat and fiber with your carbohydrates in the morning can help set you up for a better glucose response throughout the day. I lost my train of thought. That's the main point.
That makes a lot of sense. I had the opportunity to wear a continuous glucose monitor for a little bit, so I can see my blood sugar is higher in the morning. But I didn't know that, having a really good breakfast actually can set your blood sugar to be more stable throughout the day. I actually didn't know that. It's great information.
Yeah. No, I think that is helpful, and then I think it also helps play a role into hormones and ensuring that those are working properly too. Because after all, insulin is a hormone, and um, that helps in the process of glucose management as well.
So what are some like a good breakfast items that people should be eating? Like what's a good breakfast meal look like?
Yeah. First of all, I would say that when you're deciding what to eat, I really stress the importance of liking what you eat. I think oftentimes people are like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna try to eat healthy," and that oftentimes means for them, I'm gonna eat foods that I don't normally like, or I'm just gonna eat all vegetables and that sort of thing. But I think it's really important when you're working on nutrition that or that nutrition aspect of health, that you really do enjoy what you eat, because then that just contributes overall to your state of health, and then actually can get you more excited about eating healthy. So, um, food and eating is not meant to be a chore. It's supposed to fuel your body. It's supposed to be, enjoyable and pleasurable, and it's a social aspect too. And so I really stress the importance of liking what you eat. As far as good, um, blood sugar friendly breakfasts, I do enjoy breakfast parfaits, and ways to make that
Mhm.
a blood sugar friendly meal is to start with a high protein yogurt or cottage cheese. I do like Greek yogurts. I like Icelandic yogurts, or even cottage cheese, and then throwing in some fiber through ground flaxseed and mixed berries, great for antioxidants as well. And then adding either nut butter or a grain-free
Mm.
granola for some healthy fat, or even having a yogurt or cottage cheese that does have fat in it too. So having all of those things combined. I do like a good scrambled eggs and mixed berries as well, with some sourdough toast. Um, so those are good options too.
Those all sound super delicious. Makes me hungry right now.
I know.
Um, so back to your tip post, what are some also other healthy diabetes management, tips that don't involve food?
Great question too. This is something I'm going to talk about a lot, because I oftentimes hear, especially for clients or people with
Mhm.
type 2 diabetes, that they're just told, just change what you eat, to start exercising more. But it really, diabetes management and blood sugar management also encompass many different things, um, from managing stress. So stress is
Mhm.
a major factor. I think a lot of times, especially in the hospital, we've noticed that patients' blood sugars tend to run higher because they are under chronic stress or acute stress, um, from whatever other complications that they're experiencing at the moment. Um, and so that is a major component. I like to incorporate either prayer journaling or breath work is one of my favorites as well. Even low impact movement like yoga, or a nice walk, even just going outside. Exercise, um, taking a walk after meals is a great way to bring your blood sugar down about 10 points. Um, Resistance training is huge.
Mm.
Your muscles utilize glucose, and so incorporating resistance training is a great way to help boost your metabolism, but also help with the blood sugar management aspect. And then sleep. Sleep is so
Mhm.
important. I know that a lot of people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or, I have all these things that I need to do, but they really, sleep is so underestimated. And it's that time where your body is recovering from the day. And um, it's one of the aspects that we often forget about, but it's so important for your hormones, and just that recovery aspect. So those would be a few of my favorite non-food diabetes tips.
These are also my favorite tip for people detoxing, because we
Yes.
often also tell people, when you do exercise, when you sweat, you're actually sweating out certain toxins. At the same time, sleep, by decreasing that stress, it's also helping your body detox, and your organs also detoxing while you're sleeping. So both are super, super important. And obviously eating well and having good antioxidant, which goes super hand in hand with diabetes management. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have like you're in your LinkedIn bio, you also have, gut health tests. So how can gut tests also help with diabetes management?
I think that's also another not talked about topic, is the importance of gut health in your overall health. Um, you may or may not have heard that the gut is like your second brain, and it's also involved in immune health, and even mood regulation as well. And so,
Mhm.
what you eat plays a role into your gut health, and that can also influence digestion, and again, immune health. And so, I think it's important to take a look at that. I don't automatically recommend that people do testing right off the bat, but I think it's an important tool that can be utilized in certain situations, just to see where's the room for improvement, especially if you're kind of stuck in your management and you're like, I feel like I'm doing all that I can. Like, I've worked on the sleep, I've worked on stress, and I've worked on what I eat, but like there's something that maybe we can explore a little bit more, and then that's where I would look into that. But um, the gut plays a role in so many different areas of health, and so I think that is an important tool that can be utilized for better management. I mean, and it's also again, that's where like the digestion and nutrient um, utilization and absorption comes into play. And so if there's something that's impeding that process, then it's worth taking a look at.
I just love your holistic approach to this whole management. So tell us like what is a one-on-one session with you look like? Because I think many people who are just starting this journey would so be benefited by working with you.
Yeah. And I really love working with clients one to one because that's something that I really missed when working in the hospital and skilled nursing. You get to see people for maybe like one visit for 15 minutes, but you really get to develop that relationship when you work with people one on one. And that's where I like to guide my approach, really get to take the time to learn about the individual. So our session together initially is, or actually even before working together, is, what are you struggling with? What do you think I can help you with? And what are you hoping to get out of the session of working together, just to see if we are a good fit? Because that's not my goal. Not my goal to just work with anyone just to get clients. I really, really do want your health to be at the forefront of this. And so really getting to learn what it is that you're hoping for, and then what I can provide you and how we can work together. And then if we do decide to work together, that first session is really learning about your health history, learning about your nutrition history, your lifestyle habits, your sleep, your stress, all of these other factors, what your diabetes knowledge is to begin with, what you've been told so far. And if you've worked with someone already, like what you found helpful and what you really didn't find helpful, and why you're pursuing this change in practitioner here as well. So really focusing on those aspects, and then honing in on maybe like 1 to 2 things in the beginning. I often hear that, diabetes management is so overwhelming. There's so much to know. And so my point of stress to my clients is you don't need to figure it out all at once. And, this is definitely a process of learning, learning about your body, learning about your health, how you respond. And this is hopefully going to set you up for a lifetime of better healthcare management. And so you wouldn't expect all of that to be solved in just a few appointments. And so really working with you over, I like to start working with clients over initially a 12-week period, and then, reevaluating every so often to see, is this working well, or what can we do better? And are we getting you closer to your goal? Really just taking it one step at a time and focusing on what you can do, what makes sense for your lifestyle. I mean, obviously, lifestyle changes do take time, and they can be uncomfortable. I'm not saying that this is all going to be a breeze. It's not. um, but that's why I'm here to help guide you, and not support you, to be able to support you and encourage you on your journey to health and better blood sugar management. Not leave you hanging.
Amazing. And you do both pre-diabetes and diabetes. So I think it's for people who are already diagnosed, really important for the management. And for pre-diabetes, it's really important to work with someone immediately, continuously to reverse that pre-diabetes.
Yes, yes, yes. Just going back to
So
that preventative approach, and yeah.
So wow, this is like such great information. And I know you have like so much more great information on your Instagram. And thank you so much for joining us today. Um,
Thank you for having me. It was a
and then
pleasure.
thank you everyone for joining. So be sure to follow Courtney at Naturally Sweet RD. I love this handle.
Thank
And
you.
then also shop for Courtney's favorite products, and then visit the site, and also book a session with Courtney. And then we'll have all the linked in our LinkedIn bio promoting this Instagram live. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jenna.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.